what is the immune system? Well, generally it's something that protects me. From what? From things that get inside your body. And I said, well, why should things want to get inside my body in the first place? Bacteria, parasites that live out in the environment have to struggle for their survival to find food. But underneath your skin, the tissues inside your body are flush with fluid from the blood. And in that fluid are all the nutrients and elements necessary for growth. So if a bacteria could find itself inside to your body, it would be sitting pretty. All it'd have to do is just sit there, and food would be constantly delivered from an individual circulatory system. Well, then we have to have a defense system. Because if invasive organisms get in there, not only will they utilize the food we make, but they could create a toxic waste environment that could actually undermine our health. So we can't afford to have invasive organisms come into us and take over. And the immune system's job is an internal protection system. So I said, well, how does it work? Well, the immune system is an intelligent system. Because what is the function of the immune system? To go out into the world of their body and look for things that are new, that came in, and then not only recognize them, but learn about them so that they could create antibodies, for example, to effectively knock them out. So the immune system's character is learning and memory. The immune system identifies things that get into the body that cause disruption of the system. And its job is to identify them, mark them, and eliminate them. And I go, but there are many organisms that live with us that are part of us. It's called the microbiome. Thousands of species of organisms, bacteria and parasites living with us. I say, the immune system doesn't attack them. The reason is this. They support our viability. They support who we are. So self versus not self, that's not the discriminating factor of the immune system. Factor of the immune system is anything that's disruptive to the system. Well, guess what? That not only includes organisms that came from the outside, but even our own cells, if they go rogue, like go into a cancer state, the immune system's job is to eliminate them. So basically, the function of the immune system is to keep harmony in the system. Any organism that comes in that disrupts harmony, function of the immune system, eliminate it. There's an intelligence to it. And it's not self versus not self. It's versus anything that brings harmony versus anything that disturbs harmony in the system. That's the focus of the immune system. Every system that's connected to the outside of the body has a protective layer of epithelium as a border to prevent infection into the system. The skin, for example, is a barrier that prevents things from attacking you. So here's the important part. The skin, and now we know there's another layer called the microbiome, which consists of bacteria and elements like that, are two layers, microbiome on top of the epithelium and underneath is the inside of the body. These two layers aren't part, by definition, of the immune system, but they represent the most important part of the immune system because with these two barriers, they eliminate 99.99% of any infective agent. It doesn't even get past those barriers. The immune system that we talk about with the cellular involvement is if the invasive organism gets under the barrier. Now it's inside an environment, and the function of the policing of that environment is due to the immune system. So if an invasive organism is in the blood, it can be distributed anywhere throughout the body and take over. This process is called sepsis. This is the most disturbing form of inflammation because you're feeding everything with the purest nutrients in the blood and giving an opportunity to be distributed throughout the entire body. So I say, well, then we have to deal with these infections. And the two primary infection sites are either in the matrix where the fluid is or inside the cells. There are two main cell types in the immune system that deal with this. There's a whole community, but two main characters that we talk about. The lymphocytes are the scuba divers that come into this matrix, one set T cells, examining the health of the body cells as to whether they're healthy or infected. One of them is called a B cell, which means bone marrow derived cell, a cell that evolved in the bone marrow, in the red bone marrow, which is generating blood cells. It generates these white cells called B lymphocytes. What's their function? The function of a B lymphocyte is to go through the matrix and identify anything that doesn't belong there by glomming onto it with receptors. And then this invasive thing, which we collectively call an antigen, the B cell has a surface receptor that could plug into that antigen, like a lock and key. And if it can do that, then that B cell is stimulated to make more of these receptors, but release them free. So they're floating in solution. So wherever that target was, the free-floating antibodies, they're called, can attach to the target, mark that target for destruction, and other cells like macrophages will take the marked structures with antibodies and devour them and break them down and protect you. So yes, antibodies are created by B cells by recognizing a foreign antigen, modifying the receptor so that it becomes a perfect fit for that antigen, and then reproducing those receptors but releasing them out into the fluid, in the blood, serum, and in the lymph. And these antibodies floating around, if they ever encounter the antigen that precipitated them, those antibodies will bind to it, mark it for self-destruction. And that's how we eliminate it. But now we're left with the last part, and that is what? What if the infective agent is inside the cell? Antibodies can't get inside the cell. So how do I deal with an infection inside of a cell? I said a second group of immune cells are called T lymphocytes. And that stands for thymus-derived lymphocytes. I said, what's their function? Well, these lymphocytes go around and can read the health of any cell in your system by looking at the surface of that cell. Is it a healthy cell or is it an infected cell? Well, the T lymphocyte can distinguish between them. And when it finds an infected cell, the T lymphocyte cell itself kills the infected cell, which then wipes out the infection. So I have two main cells that part of the immune system. B cells, which release antibodies which float through the system, marking invasive organisms and marking them to be eliminated. Or T cells, which are capable of traveling among all the cells and testing their surfaces to see, are these cells infected? And then the job is to eliminate an infected cell using the T cell to actually kill the infected cell. So we have T and B cells running through our body with an intelligence. Their targets were identified. And when a target is identified, for example, by a B cell, it causes the B cell to reproduce and create lots of versions to do what? Make lots of antibodies to go through the system and protect us. And then there are memory B cells and memory T cells. After the infection is gone, these memory cells hold on to the history of what happened. And if that invasive organism ever shows up again, instantly the cells will be prepared to fight that. And that's called immunological memory. The immune system's job is to move through the biology of the body, through the matrix where the fluids are, or by identifying the individual cells comprising the body, read for the expression of an infection, and then identify the antigen causing an infection, and then create a complement, be it an antibody or a surface receptor on a T cell, that when recognizing the foreign element will mark it and then kill it and protect us. And this is the function of the immune system.